What's going on, everyone? We're over here. We're looking at the board again today. Quick update. We kind of split the tier system into board and build. So this is basically what we're starting with and what we did to it. This system is based off of the 360 because that's mostly what we do here. So some of the other stuff is kind of iffy on that. But essentially what we're looking at is tier 1 boards for 360 is going to be your unserviced original Xenons, Zephyrs, stuff like that. Put like the early serviced, like with the Y1 chips, things like that, in the 1 category. The 2 category is going to be, your Elpis, your Chronos, the better Falcons. When we get to tier 3, we're looking at an RGH 3, 1.2, or at least the more basic 1.2s. Would also put the Opus in the tier 3, even if it's unmodified. Just the rarity of it, we would probably put that as a 3. And then tier 4 is going to be like the Zero Fuse Jasper. I would put J tags in that category, assuming it was a level 2 board when it was J tagged and not, an unreliable one. And even just, an upgraded or modded Opus. On the build side, that's why these numbers wouldn't necessarily line up every time. Tier 1 is going to be, so like the Halo 3 and even the Modern Warfare would be a tier 1, because we did paint the disc tray on that one, but for the most part no paint, basically window cut, LEDs, more basic kind of stuff. And then for tier 2 on the build side, like the Slim, that one had a full paint job, upgraded fans, not necessarily a custom cooling situation, just maybe like in Prime we took the OEM fans out and put a couple Noctuas there. Tier 3 is going to involve, and this one kind of barely made the cut, but it full custom paint job. It did have some chrome elements. The aftermarket parts obviously play a role depending on their rarity. And although it did have the OEM fans replaced, it also had the 200mm fan on top, so custom cooling. Got tier 4 water cooled. Anything water cooled, automatic tier 4. We do have a couple exceptions here. You can see Ruby Red still in the tier 4 category. And that is just because of a long list of rare parts. I mean, the shell, the fan tunnel, the extra fan, the heat sinks, the DVD drive. So a good example here of a 4, even though it's, it was a Jasper RGH 1.2. Why would that be a 4 instead of a 3? That one had all the custom dashboards, blades, and still play anything on that one. And that would be the same down here for Eyeball. That's another double 4. We're going to look at pretty soon. This is the one we're looking at today. We're going to build blue. We'll take a look at that. But this is another 4-4. So this is our Zero Fuse that we just put dual 360 slim heat sinks with the internal fan. See on Yoda is a 3, even though it had a 200mm fan, and we put the CPU heatsink on the GPU. That's different than having to customize 2 slim heat sinks that were not meant to put in there, and making sure the fan was internal as well. That's getting full custom paint, all kinds of cool stuff. I can't wait for that one. This one should be done. It's not going to be completely done in this video because I'm waiting on a couple decals, but we should be able to fully assemble it. We're going to work on this one. It does still need paint though. This one will probably be next because it's still pretty much done, the shell. We're just waiting on a board. It should be here soon, assuming everything's good with it. Definitely using that in this one because of the MFR date. And Vader will be sent out for a review, and once it's back, will be listed as well. We do have a membership set up. I set it to whatever the lowest possible monthly thing was, which is 99 cents, and even that, you should probably know YouTube keeps like a third of it. And goal with that would be to eventually do giveaways, maybe even monthly giveaways. I can't say when the first one would be just yet. Obviously, you get the whatever extra stuff in the comments, you get the badges and stuff like that. I've never actually been in a membership like this. I'm still learning about all of it, so bear with me. And yeah, I don't know, we can kind of vote in there on what to use the membership money for each month. But like I said, I would like to eventually do giveaways. We could start with smaller stuff, and obviously it depends on the members. I mean, if we have like 500 members, we could pretty much do a full custom build every month and to give away. That would be kind of cool. I just want to go over that real quick. It's not an advertisement to go do that and spend money. You don't have to do that. But if you would like to help support the channel a little bit, and hopefully if things go well, like I said, giveaways, that doesn't mean we would only do giveaways there. I still want to do like milestone giveaways. If we hit like 5,000 subs or something, still want to do that on the regular channel, and that's not going to affect anything with the normal channel, but there may be some extra posts on the members only side of things, whether it's behind the scenes stuff, maybe you get to see a couple build ideas early or something like that. We'll see. 2 members. We've got Clemens, who was the first to join, and Tazzy just joined a few days ago. Thank you guys. I'm not going to commit to reading off all the names every single time. I know I'm going to get myself in trouble. I'm terrible at pronouncing names, and I'm sure somebody's going to have some names that'll get me in some trouble. Definitely need a new computer, because my backup laptop is slowly dying. I think it just wiped my entire hard drive, which sucks, but hey, that means we're going to need a computer soon, whether we build one through like the membership thing, or I actually found something super cool that would be probably the best computer for this channel, in which case I can stop using my phone and a Splice app. Alright, let's look at blue. I've got it pretty much all painted. We just need to start doing some assembly. But if you saw the short of us cutting a window and painting that panel red, talking about baseball, yeah, Chicago Cubs. Now I think they actually have these for every team. I don't know how many, the availability on all of them. There was a seller that had a bunch of them, and honestly I've had this I think in my cart on eBay for probably years, and it was 14 bucks. I'm from a Chicago Cubs household. I am from Chicago, so yeah, I'm excited for this one. You see here it is a 1 board 2 build. Actually made this one for our Y1 here, and then realized it needed a BenQ, which I just I had one set aside and put it in something else. I actually had to swap it into the Voyager build before shipping that off. Anyway, now the more specific theme on this build is the quote or slogan, "Bleed Cubby Blue." And it's only going to be $1.50. No, it's not. We definitely added more onto that gloss red. We put some metallic blue splatter and the white misting as well, and you'll see why when I show you the next piece. From vents, and our hard drive is white with red and blue splatter on it. Then we got Go Cubs Go. Vents are the same. You can get a better look at the full panel without a window, and that's where our decal will go that I'm still waiting on that actually says Bleed Cubby. Now we are going to upgrade the OEM fans in this one with a couple noise blockers. We'll probably add a little UV in there. Now even though this has a window, we're not doing a custom painted fan tunnel or DVD drive because you still won't be able to see inside, and that's because we're putting this plexiglass on, and then just like the Modern Warfare build we just did, we've got this here that I've printed out and laminated. That's going to go underneath the plexiglass and then another piece underneath it so that this is sandwiched in there. And I think this is going to look really good. We're going to get those white, really bright LED strips. Got the plexi in and our image. Hold it up to the light there. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. System again and check the DVD drive. See if we can get that working solid. See the Y1 GPU. The X CPU, that one's super rare. Here we got our heatsink cleaned off, and I actually am switching to aluminum on the CPU. Why would you do that? Well, yes, the copper is better. On the CPU side, there's definitely not nearly as much of a difference, maybe a few degrees. This is really where it's important because, I mean, it's not just the material. I mean, it's not actually copper. We've called this one copper because of the copper heat pipe in there. And this whole extra deal here is what makes the big difference there. And obviously this is cramped for space. CPU is not, and this one's actually bigger than the other heatsink, but it is aluminum. And then we're going to have extra airflow, so this is not really going to make a difference here. But obviously we're keeping that one. Got our fans in place here. This one. And then we put some kind of gasket. I'll get some more. I just ran out. I put it along the bottom and then in between. I always do that with, I mean, I've done this a handful of times with either these or the Noctua. We're going to do the same on the sides. And then our fan tunnel, we'll probably put a strip in between that little gap there that allows it to sit all the way down here, and the gasket between here will keep the fan shroud. You see that little bit of play there? We want it to be pushed outwards. That way this is lined up with the hole. Got the extra gasket on the side, along the top, it's holding this in place. I don't know if I actually said why I put this one on here. It's a little bit shorter than the copper one. The copper one is even with this, and once we put the second layer on the window, it's basically going to rest on this surface, and I don't want it to rest on the heatsink. So that's going to allow just a little bit of a gap there so it's not just sitting on there. All of our LEDs wired up and our fan connectors and all that kind of stuff. I'm going to go ahead and test out our DVD drive now. See what happens. It's that loud power supply. Sweet. Fans going there. Alright, open tray. Alright, it opens, which I remember. Oh, that wasn't ready. Okay, yeah, so that's all it does. Oh yeah, I added that right there. I've got a spare BenQ drive in there. It's actually from that Grand Theft Auto 5 build. Now, of course, we haven't swapped the board over or anything like that, so... Now, it usually would say unrecognized disk, but this might be the dashboard where it just like resets instead. Didn't realize that's not connected. There we go. Oh. Okay, well, it randomly opened, so you can hear it doing that thing where it starts to speed up and then just kind of stops. Tries. Oh. No. New belt, cleaned off the lens. Everything else was pretty good in there. It's already been cleaned off as it was going in a build, but we'll see what happens. Alright, here's the deal. I've tried every BenQ drive I have. I know I have good ones in at least one of the beta dashboard ones, but obviously not going to take one of those, especially since it's flashed. I even took the BenQ out of another build that I did not want to take it out of just to test it out. It's having issues just as well. I can get all of them to open with our hair ties. Honestly, I've gotten everything to open with the hair ties. But when it comes to reading, and to be honest, the BenQ is probably the worst DVD drive you could get. Of course, I'll eventually get either a laser assembly or just wait till we get a few more Xboxes and see if we have another BenQ drive. For now, let's just make things easier. Let's throw the Christmas Elpis in there instead, and then we should be all good to go. It also has a 60 gigabyte hard drive, so definitely a bit of an upgrade, even though, I mean, this one's been working great. It's not like it had Red Ring of Death when I first got it. It was working fine, just had the disk drive problem. But this is even better. We've got an Elpis Lite-On drive, and again, everything worked great with this one before and after. It even had a free game inside. I forgot just how clean and nice this Elpis was. I mean, literally everything looked brand new, pretty much. This is probably the nicest shell I've seen in a very long time. Everything is in excellent condition. Nothing's broken off at all. None of the clips on anything. All the doors are good on the faceplate. Transplant complete. The Y1 is now in this lovely shell. Took my info sticker off. We also took the service sticker off. Got it here with information on it. We're ready to throw this disk drive in and I guess test it, but I know it was working fine before, so why don't we deal with the last little bit of wiring here. It is a little crazy, but we've got off of the 12 volts here, this 4-pin connector, so we can plug that fan in because I'm out of 3-pin connectors. And that also has the UV LED for that side of the fan tunnel. And then there's another 4-pin going over here to plug this fan in. That way that can be unplugged and taken out separately with a UV LED right there. And also on that 12 volts is our bright white LED strip. Now we were going to tap into the fan plug-in here for some 5 volts to put some red and blue flashing lights just right here, right where the Cubs logo is on the window. Deja vu. We're back to this, but now with the Elpis and light-on drive. A little bit of flashing lights there. Made sure to move the LED forward and kind of tilt it up a little bit. It definitely illuminates that window a lot more. Here we go. Boom. Honestly, kind of glad we upgraded this one to the Elpis. This became a little more work than I originally planned. I'm like, oh, I could do the faceplate, some red and blue and whatnot, but turned out to be more work, besides having to swap the whole motherboard. This is clearly a great working system. Once again, this was our Christmas Elpis in terms of service date. It's 12/26. You're not going to get a service date on Christmas, but you can find a manufacture date on Christmas, which I actually saw 1 or 2. You like that game? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff lying around. Now I totally forgot to do the LEDs in the hard drive, so that's just the top shell sitting on there, but just imagine blue light. Alright, you imagined it. Illuminates nicely, it's not like crazy bright. Might go back and put a little block here, just to block where I put the LEDs. But the next time you see this, it will have the decal on the back, Bleed Cubby Blue, and of course I'll have the hard drive finished, and we will be listing it, assuming it is going to also work fine in the upright position, which usually a light-on drive is going to work or it's not. The BenQ ones and some of the older ones are sometimes not a fan. Oh. I'm going to have to double check that eject button. They are, of course, louder in the upright position. When they're laying down, it doesn't seem to vibrate as much. And I've tried to experiment with ways like adding either rubber washers underneath, but then you kind of have to shave the legs, and that's hard to get perfect. Or just adding some extra little foam padding or something around the DVD drive, but they just really like to hum. Alright, that's it. I gotta get this video up. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to not like, comment, or subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. I guess that's now a 2.